I mean, some of the symbolism here in terms of Saturn as well, the Lord of the Rings, right, representing time, death. You know, in some cases we can see, you know, the Cronus or Saturn with an hourglass and all this as well. It's quite interesting when you get into it, and I even think that there is a hint of this in the most basic, the NASA logo as well. Many people say it's a rocket taking off with this kind of V or U-shaped, but that looks to me like the red rings of Saturn around a blue planet. What do you make of that, Jay?
I completely agree with you, and yeah, the Lord of the Rings. Okay, so here we have J.R.R. Tolkien, who's the only person who can read the books that are in the basement of the Oxford at Oxford. Okay, he's got all these books from Finland and Sweden, and he's the only guy who can actually read them. All right, and he spends hours and hours, hundreds of hours reading all this stuff that's down there, and he writes Lord of the Rings after he's done reading it. Okay, and he says to his friends like C.S. Lewis, he says there's a whole history and we don't even know about it. And he told people in his letters that Lord of the Rings was about Europe 6,500 years ago. That, you know, the Irish were the hobbits and the elves were the Nords, and you know, he had this whole thing figured out. And he said this is all based on truth. And he would get angry when people say, well, you know, this is all analogy and metaphor, and he would say, no, it isn't analogy and metaphor. This is what I learned from my reading. And one of the things he gets is that there's this Lord of the Rings, like Saturn, and his name is Sauron. And Sauron is obviously, you know, so close to the Mesopotamian dictator Sargon, who invented time, literally invented time. He invented clocks and calendars and schedules, and really delivered the world into the linear, monochronic world that we live in right now. The world before that was polychronic, but Sargon created the monochronic world, and really thrust us into civilization, if you want to call it that. And so he understands this, Tolkien, and he's trying to show us that the Saturnian power came in and forced us into a kind of slavery, wrecking the planet, destroying the planet, and using up all the energy of the planet for its own devices. We don't really know, reading Lord of the Rings or watching the movies, we don't really know what it is that Sauron is trying to accomplish. Not really. And outside of conquering the world. And what it is he's trying to destroy the elves who know too much and have too much power, and he's trying to trap the earth into into an energy-sucking thing, and he's creating half-breeds of clones, the orcs and all those, who are not really human, and they're only partially human, just like the Arcones. And he knows all this, and he's reading all this, and he's absorbing it, and he's getting it, and so this knowledge was in our own histories, and it has been wiped out by these Archons, these forces that don't want us to figure out, you know, what's going on.